In this video, I will show the one feature that is really the most important thing to improve productivity, and that is live reload of any kind of asset. So all of our assets are loaded through a resource manager. There's absolutely no difference whether it's a texture, material, shader, or anything else. Therefore, all of our assets are streamed, and everything just works out of the box. And that means that I can also reload data through the same infrastructure very easily. And we support reload for absolutely everything. There's really nothing that couldn't be reloaded. And so, for example, here I have the asteroids project in the editor open. The asteroids project itself doesn't really do much in the editor. All it does is it specifies some of the assets. So this is the asteroid, and this is the material for the asteroids, and these are two meshes that we have, and so on. So in Visual Studio, I just run an instance of asteroids, and now I actually have the game running. So this is independent from the editor. So the editor is one process, the game is running one here. The game could also be running on a remote machine, on a console or HoloLens or whatever. It doesn't really matter. These two are not connected, so they don't communicate also. So I can just play the game here and do whatever I like. And now I want to tweak how things look mostly. So the asteroids, the textures, and so on. So I can just go in the editor and say, hey, my asteroid is a bit boring. Let's improve that. And let's say I want to use a texture for it instead of just a color. And let's say I use this tree texture actually. So now I've modified the material, I have retransformed it so it is written to the output file and so on. And in the running game instance, nothing changes because we actually don't monitor the file system or anything to reload automatically. We could do that on a local PC, but actually we prefer if people specify exactly when and what they want to reload instead of doing that automatically, because it might interfere with your workflow. So what you can now do in this application, the F4 key is bound to the action reload resources. So when I press F4, it will scan the file system, and every resource that has changed since the last time will be just reloaded. And that's it. So one key and the material has been used. It doesn't look as nice as here because the mesh actually doesn't have any kind of UV coordinates, so it just gets brown, but well, doesn't matter. So we realize that's not as good as we like, so we just undo this, go back, press F4, back in this state. So maybe we instead change our mesh here to, I don't know, something more like a box. That's a nice asteroid. Go in here, press F4, and all of the meshes changes to that. This would also work over FileServe and so on. So I've been using this on a HoloLens where you can also reload resources. Actually, in the FileServe tool, we have a button to send the reload resources command to the device, because with a HoloLens, you don't have so many buttons that you can click. And this is a very, very important thing to do. So these are materials, meshes, and so on. Very nice for tweaking, but for actually developing effects, the most important thing for graphics programmers is changing shaders. So first, let's go back to proper asteroids. So if I go into the default material shader, which is used on the meshes here as well, I can do any kind of adjustments. And so let's say I just want to make them a little bit more red. I type that in here and in the other code path as well. Go in here, press F4, and it says that the shader couldn't be loaded. So let's look at the console. I press F1 to see that. And here we see that lerp implicit truncation of vector type, common error. So what did we do? Oh yes, I forgot the float 3. Same here. Go back, F4, and now it reloaded the shader. So notably, if before it didn't crash, it gave us a proper error message. Now it reloaded that and we immediately see what's going on. So let's say we want to make it even redder, and that's the code path that isn't being used. So now we see a difference, maybe. Now we see a difference. And yeah, all without ever actually finishing the or restarting the application. No interruption whatsoever, and without crashing, etc.